Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to Shop Talk. Before we get into the viewer mail and discussion, it's worth taking a little side trip into the recent Windows zero-day vulnerability. Recently, Microsoft disclosed that a zero-day vulnerability in Windows Update is being actively exploited by attackers. This is particularly troubling because it undermines one of the primary mechanisms for keeping systems secure, the process of receiving and applying security updates via Windows Update. Now, a zero-day exploit refers to a vulnerability that is actively targeted by attackers before the software vendors who can fix it are even made aware of it, leaving no time for a patch to be developed before the attack begins. In this case, the vulnerability allows attackers to manipulate the Windows Update system, effectively reversing critical security patches or potentially replacing legitimate software components with malicious versions. So here's how it works. An attacker gains access to a system, either locally or remotely, and exploits this flaw in the Windows Update mechanism to modify the behavior of the update process. This manipulation can roll back security updates that have already been applied, exposing the system to older vulnerabilities. So essentially, it puts the system in a state where it's as if the crucial patches were never installed in the first place, leaving it open to attacks like ransomware, data breaches, or unauthorized access. This vulnerability is particularly concerning because Microsoft has confirmed that it is already being exploited in real-world scenarios. Now, the attack requires a certain level of sophistication, including an understanding of the internals of the Windows Update process that, I have no idea about, but I'm sure people can figure it out. And once an attacker has gained initial access to a system, they can exploit this flaw to reverse months of security updates in just moments. And once the attacker has rolled back all these security updates, they're free to exploit the attack vectors that they were intended to fix, meaning your system would be vulnerable to a wide range of attacks. Microsoft is currently working on a fix for this vulnerability. In the meantime, they've issued guidance for users and system administrators on how to mitigate some of the risks associated with the exploit. However, because this is a zero-day vulnerability, systems remain at risk until a comprehensive patch is released. Until that fix is available, the best course of action for organizations and individual users is to stay vigilant and look after your own security. This means monitoring systems closely for any unusual behavior, reviewing update logs regularly, and ensuring that administrative access is tightly controlled on your machine. Organizations may also consider temporarily disabling automatic updates while carefully verifying update packages before deploying them to critical systems. In summary, this zero-day vulnerability in Windows Update highlights the importance of a multi-layered approach to cybersecurity, where relying on automatic updates alone may not always be sufficient any longer. And it serves as a reminder that attackers are constantly exploiting new ways to exploit even trusted security mechanisms, and maintaining vigilance and a proactive stance on security is crucial. I'm joined by my co-host, Glenn. How you doing, Glenn?
Doing very well, Dave. Very well.
Hey, did you hear that ChatGPT came out with an entirely new model today?
What?
Yeah. What is it called? It is called, I wrote it down because I knew it was weird and I'd forget it. Oh, it's O1, and I don't know what that stands for. But I got to play with it for a little bit. It just came out about 9 hours ago, and it's available in the ChatGPT Plus user setup. Took me a while before it became available, and I'm not sure why that is. It was ghosted out at first, but I was able to select it. And they're saying it now thinks through, and it analyzes its own reasoning, and it checks its answers, that kind of thing. So it checkpoints as it figures things out. And you can see it actually gives you status update like thinking this through, stuff like that.
Wow.
I guess their Math Olympiad score went from 13% to 83%, which is a pretty big jump in reasoning. So
Right. And O1 or 01?
I think it's O1, lowercase o, number 1.
Okay.
And it scored 89th percentile on the Codeforce competitions, which is pretty good. That means only 11 programmers out of 100 that actually actively participate in that competition are smarter or better than ChatGPT at this point. So better get good fast.
And what did you throw at it when you had your first chance?
What did I throw at it? Oh, some PDP-11 problem I was having and a problem with the IMSI. But it doesn't have access to current web stuff. So it's checkpointed, I think, in October 2023.
Okay.
So it only knows things up to there, whereas ChatGPT 4.0 can incorporate current web results and do some analysis and searching. This does not seem to be able to, at least not yet.
Right. So who's got access to this then? So this is...
as far as I know, it's just ChatGPT Plus users.
Okay, yeah. And did you know this was coming, or it just appeared?
No, I just got an email.
Wow.
So I'm a ChatGPT Plus user because I'm a developer, and
Yeah.
Kind of need it. Actually, you know what? Claude is very, very good now. I kind of go back and forth. And I think for programming, for me, Claude has been a little better. Now, it might just be better at the retro systems, like crank me out some Macro 11 assembly language.
Right.
It'll even apologize and say, I don't know if I can do that very well, but here it is. And it's been okay. But it seems to have been a little better for C++ code. Like if I say, what is the bug in this whack of C++ code that I'm having an issue with? It's been a little better than ChatGPT of late. I don't know on general research and analysis, but it's nice and it's comforting to me to know that there are multiple people at sort of the same level in that space.
Right.
So time will tell how this new O1 model looks because it does take a lot longer. It's a much larger model.
Right.
And there's also a small, fast version of it, and I haven't had time to compare the two and see what the answers are like.
Yeah. But it's interesting that it gives you that, at least it's, I mean, I'm thinking back to an episode you did about downloading and installing software and the estimate of how much time was left and why that changes and why it's so hard to estimate that time. Sort of get that sense. Is that kind of what this ChatGPT 01 feels like? It's telling me it's thinking. How hard is it thinking? How long do I want to wait for it to think?
It's certainly considering its answers more carefully, but I haven't had time to ask it anything where I know that ChatGPT 4.0 would kind of stumble.
Right.
So that's something I will plan to do in the next couple of days for sure.
Yeah. Again, if it's giving it a bit more thought and thinking stuff through, it seems like you're going to be a bit more comfortable with the answer than just here it is.
Yeah, I was very encouraged by what it was saying it was doing. How well it was doing those things, I don't know yet, but I'm curious to see.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll have time to test that out.
Also in the AI space, Colossus has been built. It's Elon Musk's new supercluster for AI for, I guess it's X.AI and Grok. Is that right? Yeah, and Tesla's Optimus robot, potentially, but not for self-driving.
Okay.
So this is a supercomputer with 100,000 Nvidia H100 and H200 GPUs. And they're going to expand it to 200,000 pretty soon, apparently. So that's a lot of GPU memory and an enormous AI cluster. So I'm sure it can run many copies of Crisis at the same time, probably even.
That's a pretty.
What are they going to do with it?
Pretty serious liquid cooling, I would think, too.
Yeah, I think they were making use of liquid cooling last I saw. So not all of them are, but I think at that density, you've certainly got to.
Wow.
Tesla itself is going to stay with its Dojo and their Cortex supercluster, which has something like 100,000 H100s and H200s. So it's a similar size, but they'll have a separate dedicated one at this point. Right. I didn't know that Nvidia was producing them at that clip that companies could, not that many companies at once can do 100,000 GPUs, but it's encouraging again. A few can for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I thought your machine that had two in it was pretty wicked.
Yeah. And they're not even H100s. They're Ada 6000s, which is a really good card with 48 gigabytes each. So I've got 96 gigabytes of graphics memory. And it rocks Llama 3, but it's, infinitesimal compared to these massive clusters. So. Yeah, it's got to be an enormous amount of money. They didn't give a price on it, and I didn't do the math because I don't really know what H100s cost in that kind of quantity. It's not like walking into Best Buy and being like, I need a bunch of them. So. What else is going on? Apple news. We already talked about most of the iPhone news in a previous episode. I guess there was a camera action, but no, we even talked about that. So let's move right on to the AirPods. So there's two models now. There's the standard AirPods and the AirPods Pro 2 Deluxe 3D Turbo with active noise cancellation. And they're $129 and $179 respectively. Yeah. I guess they've redesigned for better fit. It's a rubber in a circle. What is it now? It's an oval. We've blown our minds. What else is going on with them? Oh, they've got a new H2 chip.
Okay.
I don't know how powerful an H2 chip is compared to, say, an ESP32 or some other embedded processor. I would be curious to know because it surprises me that, in a way, that earbuds need, and a lot of processing, but they're doing a lot of audio. So. It's gone USB-C finally, which is nice.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
They're saying faster charging, but I don't know how fast can the battery take it. It's not like you can jack 240 in there off your Thunderbolt and blast it in 3 seconds, but it's faster.
Yeah, any improvement could be labeled as faster.
Well, I never wind up recharging my AirPods in a hurry. I have to put them sometimes back in the case. And I think that's good for maybe 2 or 3 charges?
Right.
Or is it just 2? I don't even know. But they've never left me without AirPods because of charge anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's
But
not.
I'm an old man, so I put them on the stand at night, every night. And
It's that ritual. I mean, that's the same. My watch, all that stuff. I mean, at nighttime, everything gets put onto its charger. In the morning, it's all free and clear and ready to go. And
yeah, that slays me. We'll be in the car on the way to the airport going on a vacation. The kid's like, "Jay, do you have a battery or anything? I can plug my phone in." And I'm like, "You're going on vacation. Did you not charge your phone?" I mean, I charge my phone every night. "Oh, I fell asleep when I was watching Scooby-Doo," or whatever the hell they're doing.
yeah,
But I guess the new AirPods 2 also have effectively medical grade hearing aids built in for most cases of moderate to or mild to moderate hearing loss. They're now going to be, I don't know if there's a certification or what makes them official, but they're actually hearing aids now and not just earbuds. So
that I'm getting older. My dad's got hearing aids. That's a selling point.
I wear them for the fashion
That's
look
right.
myself. But it can also enhance the frequencies that you can't hear very well. And I don't know to what extent already regular hearing aids highly bias the high end to try and get it through to you or not, but it can selectively do it. So you can do a hearing test, see where you have dropouts in your hearing, and it can amplify in those regions.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is it's not doing that automatic? There's some sort of it requires.
Yeah, you have to go through a test of some kind.
So is that tweakable by the user, or do you need to go to an audiologist and have that kind of stuff done? I wonder.
As far as I know, it's a test built into the phone. So you take the test in the app, and then it magically cures you, or whatever they're offering.
Yeah, they don't have that for color blindness yet, right?
No, probably not. I have seen those glasses for color blindness, and it's got to be a scam, man. It's got to be.
I mean, it's sort of.
Or does it enhance contrast in colors that you can't distinguish?
I think that's kind of how it works. So if you have a specific type of color blindness, it just sort of it just modifies things so there's more contrast in colors that you didn't normally see and enhances them. But it's not. It doesn't cure it. It doesn't fix it. And what you would end up seeing as a colorblind person with those glasses is not what someone with full color vision is seeing. But much more distinctive for you that it's impactful. That's my understanding.
So there's some value in it then, I guess. It doesn't cure color blindness.
No. Yeah, but it's for those where it works, it's definitely impactful, but it's not quite as it seems or is pitched. But yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking it was more like, remember as a kid in the back of comic books, there'd be that page of crap that you could order, like the X-ray vision glasses.
I never fell for that. No.
I know, really? I didn't, because I was like 5 years old, and I'm like, no way, come on. So I don't know who was writing away for their X-ray glasses to see Mary Lou without her dress on or whatever the picture was.
And I don't think it mattered as long as you sent in your $1.95 or $2.95 or whatever it is. They got their money, and that was it. So
you remember the standard Charles Atlas ad where the scrawny kid is on the beach?
I was too much looking at the skinny kid on the beach going, oh, maybe that's the one I need. Yeah.
I'm going to pump iron with Charles Atlas. I saw a version of that ad in a 1960s comic that I picked up at like a garage sale. And it was an extended 2-page version of it. And instead of just being the kid on the beach, the kid's smoking a joint. And the fitness guy comes over and kicks sand on him, and he's like, don't you know that's not good for you? And the kid's like, chill out, man. We're just trying to have a good time on the beach. And it was like a completely extended version of it. And I've looked for it on Google. I've searched for years, and I have never found it. Now, I was probably 10 when I saw this. Maybe it was a parody, and I didn't know it was a parody. And some magazine, it wasn't Cracked, Bad or whatever, because the art style was very true to the original. But yeah, I've always been curious. What the hell did I actually see?
Wow.
So.
Oh, I thought you bought it. You saw it. Okay, yeah.
No, the other thing I saw that I did not buy that I really regret was I was in New York City and we were walking through Chinatown, I think it was, and Nikki's looking at purses and stuff. Yeah. And I wandered into some bookstore, and it's all unpublished books by the author, basically. So it's like a little community bookstore. And I just looking through, and there's a book called, I think it was The 5 Types of Homeless People That You'll Meet. And so while I'm waiting, I'm just reading this book. It's a killer book. He's explaining all the causes of homelessness, why people wind up on the street, what the different personality types, the mental disorders, and all of this. And, the addictions. And for some reason, she's ready. I put it back on the shelf and left. Yeah. And it's not like you can go on Amazon later and so why I didn't buy it, because, it was probably $7 or some nonsense. And I have looked and, of course, never been able to find that book. So.
That might be the version.
The one that got away. We also got a new Apple Watch Series 10 coming out. It's larger and thinner and has better contrast angles, and you can see it at wider angles, and it's something like 40% brighter. It's got a new S10 SIP chip.
Ooh.
I don't know what that means, but it
Better
gives
than the
you
previous.
improved performance.
Yeah.
So it's got sleep apnea detection. That's
Yeah,
kind of the
that's
big news item there.
Yeah.
Because I got a couple kids with that action going on, or have had issues with it, and then you get the CPAP machine, and
Well, that gets back to the battery issue again. I mean, I've got sleep apnea. I got the machine. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. It's like, oh, I usually, like, I wear my watch all day, and then I charge it at night when I'm sleeping. I'd be like, well, what's my routine? If I'm going to wear my sleep apnea watch at night, when do I charge it during the day? When I
you almost need two watches, right? One for your health monitoring while you sleep, and then to charge while you then wear the other one, I guess. But you can do that if you rotated an old watch into one of the rolls. But in this case, you would want the newest watch while you're sleeping, which is kind of a waste if you don't use it otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an unsolvable problem. You just switch up my routine and you throw the watch on the charger when you get home from work or what have you, and so you charge it over dinner time and then you put it on. It's not. I don't even know what the.
Yeah, I think the marketing was something like that, where you get up in the morning, you throw it on the charger, you have your breakfast, take your shower. It's had a couple hours to charge, and then after work, you throw it back on the charger until you go to bed or something weird like that.
Couple of hours for breakfast and shower.
I'm retired. What do you want? Look, it's one of those things that I throw it on the charger at night, and in the morning, it's ready to go.
I've never had to look. So. How long? So you're not necessarily an early adopter to all of this stuff. I know you're a big user of the earpods, especially for the noise cancellation. You've got an Apple Watch. Are you eager to try out some of these new things, or eh?
But I've got a MacBook and an iPad, so I know what all the product line is, and I use them, so I have an understanding of what it is that I'm invested in. And so that's why I'm going to get an iPhone 16 Pro, not because I need an action button or a faster processor or any of the things they're offering, but it's really just so that I'm up to date on it. And it's kind of my job in a roundabout way to be up to date on what's going on with technology. So that's what I told the wife anyway.
And AirPods? You're going to upgrade your AirPods?
Every year, and I have apparently amazing hearing considering I grew up on car stereos and heavy metal concerts. But I was always, probably because of my autism, protective of my hearing in the sense that I've had enough, I got to get out of here, it's kind of getting painful, that kind of thing. Or, I'll listen to one song or two songs loud, and then that's it. And duration is a major component of hearing damage.
Right.
So
well, you take your earpods to concerts right now, too, don't you?
First time I did, I went to see John Fogerty. Well, it's actually CCR now because he owns the rights, so it's CCR. And all my life I've been going to concerts. And within about 45 minutes to an hour, I'm like, this is a great concert, and I'm kind of ready to go now, and I'm ready for it to be over, and never knew why, right? And it's because, again, autism and sensory sensitivity, you've got a certain tolerance level, and I didn't know that was going on, but it would wear me out. And so for this concert, I fired him in. And the concert still sounded amazing. It maybe shaves 20 dB off of it, but you still feel the bass in your chest. And I was in the 8th row or something, so you're plenty close to the speaker stacks. And for me, it worked great. Wow. So I was surprised because I've been on airplanes with Bose noise canceling headphones, where when you get into the landing on a Dash 8 or a propeller plane, it distorts because it's I can't play the inverse waveform that loud. But these were fine, so I was impressed.
You had them on noise canceling then? So it was actively suppressing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how much it does.
No, I was just wondering whether you were using them just sort of as something in your ear to block some of the sound, but it was actually engaged in active cancellation. How effective or not it was is... but they were.
I assume then and now that probably 90% or 80% of the cancellation was physical blockage, right?
Right.
Of the ear. Yeah. But then I think it was also active noise canceling, and it didn't distort, and it recommended for all you people that don't want to wear over-the-ear headphones to a concert.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that stuff doesn't come back, right? Hearing loss is irreversible. So
I have a set of earplugs called eargasms, which are audiophile earplugs for concerts.
Wow.
I've never used them because I loaned them to somebody in my family, and I don't think I ever got them back before I got a chance to use them. But they come highly rated and highly recommended, and they fit really nice. I just never got a chance to wear them. So
yeah, we had custom ones made for our staff about, I think, 15 years ago. And so, oh, shoot, I'll get a pair. And they are, just excellent. Super comfortable.
Much better.
Yeah, I mean, the process of getting them made is interesting, but yeah, they're just fantastic. And they just fit right in your ear. They slide right in. They're
Yeah, one of my sons is in a music production, and he was doing some live performances, and at some point he had to invest in equipment, and he was trying to make the decision, and I was looking at the studio monitors, like you
Right.
see Sarah McLachlan with
Yeah.
a big thing stuffed in her ear there, and they are thousands and thousands of dollars, and they'll have like 13 speakers in them and stuff. I was like, wow.
And those would be custom molded, and
Yeah, they're
and
absolutely,
then
yeah.
they've got all sorts of technology in them. This is just the custom mold. Basically, it's just a hunk of rubber that fits your ear.
Yeah.
I can imagine what those actual audio plug monitors are. But again, if that's where your living comes from,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're on stage every night, you've got to protect, I'm sure there's a lot of older musicians that don't have a lot of hearing left. So.
yeah, exactly.
So what do we got for viewer questions? Anything?
Oh,
Should have some from the last episode or two.
yeah, we got a few.
And by the way, I should point out that what we do is we go through the comments and the questions in the latest video, and I try to answer some of them, and the ones I miss or that I don't answer or that are particularly compelling, Glenn will bring up here and ask me, maybe I've seen them before. Sometimes I will not, and I will look stupid because I won't know the answer, but we're just going to wing it. So,
From David J. Sutherland. Greetings back at you from Regina. Hey, got to go with the local.
oh, hello.
Favorite Commodore pet game?
It's got to be Invaders. And I've never known who wrote this game. It has no credits in it. And my theory, and it's just a theory, is that it is so true to the original Space Invaders game that they were scared to put a name on it for fear of getting sued by Taito or whoever owns that IP. Because it's just a really well done version. And I've got it on an old Chiclet PET 2001 with the blue bezel and the white screen. Yeah. And there's no video flicker, which is weird because those machines have bad video flicker, but you can code around it by chasing the raster. And so whoever wrote it was, not only did they write a great version of the game, they had all this attention to detail for things like not getting noise on old pets and stuff. So, yeah, Invaders, I guess, my favorite pet game.
So that actually reminds me of a question that didn't come from the viewers, but you recently did some work on a pet that's got a 80-column display, or 40-column, the Fat 40? Is that?
Oh, yeah. So it's I did a restoration, not a restoration, a cleanup. I went through and made sure the keyboard all worked, cleaned the case and screen and everything else. And it was actually in pretty good shape. I've been looking for one for a number of years. It's a 40-column pet with the giant, is it 12-inch screen?
Right.
So you get big text, and it's called a Fat 40. It kind of looks like a Commodore 64 on a big green screen in a way because it's that size of font. But yeah, it's very different than the 80-column pets, but it runs all the games really well, and it's a much bigger screen for that kind of experience. So.
And how rare a machine is that compared to the 80-column ones?
I've had a wish list for a long time. I think a lot of them got upgraded to 80-column that did exist because you can add the memory chips and move a jumper, and now it's an 80-column pet. So I think a lot of people did that, and so there's not many 40-column ones around anymore.
Yeah.
And the ones that are 40-column are usually the smaller monitors.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, right. Going back to the old days here, and will you ever release the Tour de Force Commodore 64 version?
I can't because the problem is I wrote that for a company called Acme Animation, who was licensing it to Gremlin Graphics, who then licensed to somebody else in Europe. Yeah. Maybe when I'm an old man, I'll just post it on GitHub, but I'm not old enough yet.
Not there. Yeah, once your eyesight's gone and your hearing's going, and all those other symptoms of age, then we'll get there. Wait, this is solid steel. Wait, this may all turn into a Q&A? Is there a schedule? I want Dave's advice.
Yeah, we're going to try and do it every Friday at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
And, we'll record it in the day before that or whatever. Give me some time to edit it and put it together. And so if you ask questions on the video in the comments, I will try to get to them and then pick the best ones and we'll do them here. You don't have to be a Patreon or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I try to pull
Patreon
the questions. Yeah, I try to pull the questions sort of Tuesday-ish. Get them all sorted out and filtered. So if you can get them in there, sort of look at the first 3-4 days worth of questions, and then I pull them off and I leave them there.
And please, people, keep the profanity down. I can't stress this enough.
Well, I've even inserted some. Is that okay? Or
oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Whew. Thank God. Otherwise, this would be a short episode. What else have I got for you here, Dave? Oh yeah. So Michael Pelly, 2815. Why did you stay in the U.S. and not move back to Canada?
Well, taxation was the first reason. Not that I was fleeing taxes, but Canada has a deal where, let's say I'm a Canadian and I go get a TN visa and I work for 3 years in the U.S. and I make $100,000 a year. Now I come back to Canada. I've paid tax in the U.S. on my $300,000 a year already, But Canada's like, yeah, but our rate's a little higher, so you got to pay us the delta above and beyond that you would have paid had you earned that money in Canada. I'm not a tax lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even a tax anything. That's just my understanding of the law. And I really didn't want to be in that situation. So the day I left Canada, I sent a letter to the Internal Revenue Service in Canada, whatever it's called.
The Canadian
Taxation.
CRA. Well,
CRA.
now it's called the Canadian Revenue Agency. Yeah, CRA.
Okay. Saying I'm not coming back. So I have a plan to relocate, and I did ultimately permanently relocate. But there was always a risk that after 10 years, if I got homesick and moved back, they would say, yeah, you probably meant to the whole time, so let's have a talk about those taxes. So there's always a penalty tax if you're a Canadian and you want to return to Canada, after a number of years of earning foreign income, I guess. I never thought of it at the time, but it would have been a prohibitive problem, if a parent needed care or something and I had to move back, then you'd be like, yeah, sorry, Mom, but...
Poor Jan.
12%.
I think so this came up with another person I was talking to. I think, but if you're a U.S. citizen working abroad, you're still a U.S. citizen, and income is taxed on residency or nationality rather than where you reside. Right? That's my understanding. I've never worked overseas, so I don't know. But not yet. Never had a good enough offer. No. One more here. How in depth was the testing you had to do in getting your ASD diagnosis? This is from the Breaky. He says he's 51 and understands from his limited research that it's quite difficult for mental health professionals to make a solid diagnosis for people at that age.
It can be. You probably if you really want to know what's going on, I think you have to be evaluated by a neurologist or a psychiatrist who specializes in that area. Ideally, either way, if it's a neurologist, you want somebody that specializes in that and who's not incentivized to find either for or against, right? Because if they're selling their system and they're diagnosing with something, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I don't do that for my back surgeries.
Right.
I don't buy stuff from my doctor, so I'm not going to do that in my mental health situation either, or in my naturopath situation, or any of those. So I think if you can get that independent diagnosis, that's the primary thing. And I did it by reaching out to the university lab first and then being referred to a local neurologist. And it was, in my case, about 12 to 14 hours of testing split across a couple days. And so it was, you do the standard WISC or whatever it is, the intelligence test, and you do the now discredited personality inventories, like I'm int P or J, or I forget what I am now, int something. What else do? You do coordination tests, occupation, aptitude testing, all of these kind of things, and a lot of communication testing. A lot of can you read cues? There was even one thing there's two things I talk about in my book. One is that there's this tape, and they play two numbers, and you have to add the number. So they say 3, 6, and you say 9. Now they say 5, and you've got to add 6 and 5. So it's 11. And so you're always trying to sum the last two numbers that you've heard, which is kind of confusing, but they start off nice and slow. And then it gets going faster, and then it's like the tape gets really crackly, and you can't really hear what's going on. And it started to piss me off because I'm like, I'm going to fail this test for the sake of the shitty audio quality. And so I was kind of getting revved up, and I did my best. And at the end of the test, I went up to the test examiner, and I said, it's time to get a new tape because it was really hard to hear that. And I don't know if the results are valid. And she says, oh, we know that's intentional. That's part of it. Also, we use it for anger, to test for anger disorders, because I guess it's so frustrating that it pushes people over sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty effective.
And probably the pace of having to answer this, this stream of numbers, and you're revved up, and it affected me, but I don't have an anger disorder.
Well, and I mean, some of that could be just, that's an anxiety kind of thing as well, right? Like, I mean, some people test situations to start with like that, and then you add that kind of, frustration. Yeah, and I'm really slow, so I have what's called, is it slow processing disorder? It sounds really bad, especially if you're a programmer, but, and it basically means that I can get the right answer most of the time, but that I do it my own way, and it's sort of hard to time it. And so sometimes I'm fast, but sometimes I'm really slow. And if you give me a paragraph of text to analyze and stuff, I'm going to take longer than the average person, probably because my mind wanders off every 2 sentences to what they're, I won't get into the whole details, but they account for that to a certain extent, but they don't in IQ testing, because IQ testing is how fast can you solve them and get them right. And so I don't know how it impacts that. So and that
I was always kind of curious.
Part of the testing for that too was sort of like the SAT. Was there some SAT kind of stuff too?
Yeah, there was like an SAT, but it only took like 90 minutes to write.
Yeah, it was a briefer version of it.
Yeah,
It
was half math, half logic and English.
But they give you sort of unlimited time.
You write it till you're done,
Yeah.
and they record where you would have, what your score would have been if you would have stopped answering at the 90 minutes, but they let you finish.
Yeah.
And my two scores were wildly different. So
Dave just needs a bit more time on some stuff. Yeah, I just wanted to get back to where you started off in this, talking about the issues that have come up with the zero-day exploitation there. So how do these? So for us regular folk, I don't know if I might be at the regular folk. I might be slightly just below it, or maybe above it. I'm somewhere in there. No automatic updates. That's kind of the big thing right now. Just
the problem is I don't know how to tell, and I don't fully understand. This was in the article that I read saying that you want to turn off automatic updates, and I'm like, well, is that because there's a malignant update that's being pushed around? I can't see that because it's got to be signed, right? It's not like Microsoft Update is going to take a bad update from somebody that just pushes it to your machine. I can't believe that's happening.
Yeah.
So it's got to be they get something on the machine through administrative rights through another process, and then once they've done that, they can roll back updates, or maybe you don't even need admin rights. I don't know.
Okay.
They're not giving away the recipe of how to exploit it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Right?
So again, and this is way outside my area of expertise. I sort of expected you were going to say how this all happened. Like, again, even with your experience at Microsoft for 10 years, you don't know how all that stuff is done, like the secret mix of how these updates gets pushed out. So my question is, how does Microsoft find out or become aware of these hundreds, thousands of folks out there trying all kinds of different ways to get in and all that, and every now and then they sort of come across one or figure out one or stumble across it or discover it?
Yeah, it's like my old favorite, one of my favorite tragically hip lyrics. I've got a genius for evil. It makes me common.
Yeah.
So there's lots of people trying that kind of stuff. So there's never a shortage of hackers.
Yeah. That's a
Shortage of really qualified penetration testers, but
there you go. Yeah, use your powers for evil. Not good.
yeah. You mean that's the other way around?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, superpowers. Yeah, that's the only question we got. But again, for folks, just pop those questions in there. That's the best way to get them in.
Yeah, and I should mention too that if you're seeing this, I don't know if it's because you're a viewer of Dave's Garage on a regular basis, or you're seeing this organically. But either way, you might want to subscribe because this is on the secondary channel now, which has a small subscriber count and probably doesn't get that many views. But we're hoping to grow it, and we'll know that by whether or not people subscribe to it. So. Yeah. There's my little plea for subscriptions.
And basically what I do, I copy all the comments out, and I look for ones that have a question mark in them.
So the more question marks you add, the more chance you've got.
If you're asking a question, but you're not putting in the punctuation of a question mark, I'm not going to see it because I don't read. I mean, I flip through all the comments, but when I'm looking for questions, I'm looking for question marks. So, yeah.
Right.
So that's the trick signal to get it on my list. So.
All right. Well, I don't know where we're at, but let's wrap it up here.
Okay, cool.
See you later, Glenn. Have a good night.
Bye, Dave.
Good night.